So let's go out on the hotline and talk to our Eagles beat reporter. You can hear him on the Go Birds podcast with me. My co-host, my pal there, the one, the only, Mr. Eliot Shorr-Parks. What up, E?
What up? How you guys doing this morning?
Well, as you can hear, lots of questions, consternation. What did you make of what we were just talking about, the concept of Sean Mannion and A.J. Brown and how much it was a part of the interview, you think, or whether they kind of knew going in? Like that thing we were just talking about, what do you make of that whole situation?
Yeah, it's interesting because when you're interviewing Sean Mannion, you're also interviewing a bunch of other coaches, and you don't want to let out that you are thinking or expecting to trade AJ. If you're going to tell 17 coaches, like, hey, guess what, he's not going to be here, then I think your leverage kind of loses a little bit of its luster. But, yeah, I think with the AJ thing, I understand he has been, at times, like a distraction off the field. But it's interesting hearing you guys talk about the Sean Mannion thing. And the consensus is, yeah, it'll be a big blow to Sean Mannion if he's not here. That's because it'll be a big blow to the Eagles if A.J. Brown is not on the roster. Like, I understand he has flaws, but it feels like the time of the year, it's perfect actually with the Combine. With the Combine, we get so obsessed with, like, hand size and arm length and stuff like that. And then when the football starts, you remember, oh, yeah, this guy's actually good at football. I feel like with A.J., we're focusing on a lot of things right now that matter, but probably don't matter as much about the fact that he is still a top 10 receiver in the NFL. And if you lose him, it is going to be very hard to replace him.
Does it feel? When do you expect that we will hear from Sean Mannion, Eliot?
I think probably a few months. I don't know, like after the first
why though? Why is that? Because other teams have had offensive coordinators who spoke in. Like, what do you think the thought process is? It just that they don't have to, so they won't?
Yeah, I think that's it.
That's pretty simple. Pretty simple.
Yeah,
I mean, that jives with Sirianni and the way they go. They keep everything in house. That makes sense.
Yeah, look, I think the last time a coordinator spoke prior to like the draft was maybe Jim Schwartz, all the way back when they hired Doug, and that's because he was at the press conference. So like, this is just what they've done. I think they view it as two things. One, they probably view it like they don't want the coordinator to answer questions he doesn't know the answer to. If you think about Nick when he did his introductory press conference and had to ask about Carson. And then also I think they view it as a somewhat competitive advantage not to talk about scheme publicly. So obviously I think it's silly. Clearly he should talk. I think it would help people probably ease their concern about him if he were to talk and do a good job. But my guess is that those are the reasons.
So if you had to call it right now, I know we need a lot more information, Eliot, but AJ an Eagle in 2026 or no?
Yeah, I think you would have to guess no. I mean, the agent is out looking for a trade. Howie is putting on a masterclass in Indy right now on how to extract value out of an asset that doesn't want to be there. I mean, Dombrowski could seriously take notes on how Howie is handling this. But, like, I just think ultimately the Eagles are going to get a good enough return. And one thing we've not talked about enough with this in this trade situation is if they trade AJ, they save almost $30 million in cash. And I don't think that's a good enough reason to trade AJ. But in an offseason where you're going to pay Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, maybe Jalen Phillips, like we could go down the list of guys, maybe Moro Jomo. Cash is valuable,
not to mention
right?
Blanket, Chip Goddard, Dean, whoever of these free agents they decide to keep, if any, like those are on the table too.
Exactly. Now, yeah, I think the chances Nakobe and Blankenship are back are probably somewhat slim, but they have a ton of options out there to spend their money on. So you'll never have a better chance to trade AJ than right now. Like, he's only going to be a year older. Who knows what the offense looks like next year? If you can get a second-round pick plus save $30 million in cash, I just think both sides win in that situation. Well, not win. Both sides get a little bit of what they want there.
See, I don't like what you did there, Eliot. You went with a second-round pick. We heard today that the rumor at the Combine is that Howie's looking to extract a 1 and a 2. You're saying if it slides all the way back to a 2, you'll be okay with that. What do you expect it's going to land at?
I didn't say I would be okay with it. I just think that's what they're going to end up getting. I mean, he got traded, if I remember correctly,
I don't want that. I don't want that.
Oh, I would trade him for a 2 right now.
I think
yes, sir.
a 1 is likely, and tell me if my head's in the clouds here. Is AJ attractive enough to teams to create sort of a bidding war situation where we could drive that price up?
Yeah, so I do think, again, it's a great market to trade him. You look at the teams that could use him and you would assume would have some level of interest in him. They're all competing against each other, and they're all in the AFC. So it works out well in terms of creating a market for him. So, yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. Obviously, you would want a first-round pick, but he got a first-round pick in the trade 4 years ago at this point. He's 4 years older. And there's also the reality that he's probably going to want a new contract. Like, I'm sure when the agent is talking to these teams, it's not just about acquiring AJ. It's probably about what kind of contract would you give him. AJ only has 1 year of guaranteed money left on his contract. No player would like that. I mean, players honestly consider that almost like you're a free agent at that point because you only have 1 more year of security. So I think that's part of it too. If you're going to trade for AJ, are you really going to give up a first and pay, I don't know, $70 million in guaranteed, $60 million guaranteed, something like that? So I think they have a better chance of getting a 1, in my opinion, if they were to trade with a team that would give them a conditional 2, and you base off of how AJ does next year, and maybe that can move up to a 1.
If AJ ends up going to New England, will it be because Mike Vrabel had some, I don't know, unfair advantage being that he was a player and he's able to, hey, as a player, I can text guys, former, players themselves. Mm-hmm. Does he have like a secret code, like a cheat code to the advantage of the New England Patriots? That could be cause for worry, couldn't it?
I think the real worry would be AJ is making it blatantly obvious he's a huge Patriots fan. Like, that's why I think he would.
Yeah.
Wink, right? Wink.
Yeah, exactly. The wink. I mean, he's posting jerseys on Instagram over the last year, which is fine. I always say to people, if any of the listeners got drafted in the NFL, you would be an Eagles fan still, and you would probably still want to play for the Eagles. Now, AJ should probably do a little bit better of a job hiding it to a degree, but I don't blame him for wanting. I don't blame him for wanting to play for the Patriots. And I think the Mike Vrabel thing is just a nice cherry on top of what he probably views as a good situation. And I think AJ wants to go somewhere where he thinks they'll throw the ball at a higher level. And I think he probably looks at the Patriots and thinks that can be a place for him.
Yeah. We were talking earlier, Eliot, about the indoor facility for the Eagles. Jimmy wants a bigger indoor facility. I had never thought about this. I guess other teams have 100-yard indoor facilities. Is this sort of like keeping up with the Joneses? How important is this to get a full field of artificial turf?
I mean, I think it's very important. Like, I've covered the practices in that bubble, and they can't practice like they do outside. So when they have to go inside, and it's not a ton, but when they do, due to weather, it impacts their ability to practice. So, I think we would all agree, like, the Eagles are obviously run at an elite level. I think Jeffrey Lurie is a great owner. But, like, the facilities are old. They just are. Like, I'm in that
They're
locker room.
They're the same as what they were when I
played.
Yeah,
it's 26 years or whatever, right? Something like that. Yeah. It's been a long time.
I got here for the grand opening of the link.
24 years
the NovaCare was really new then.
Yeah.
Really new.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say there's probably 50-plus college programs that have nicer locker rooms
I think
than
so.
the Eagles have.
Yeah, we probably have some of the oldest facilities in all the league, and by comparison, even compared to Division I schools in college, our stuff is, antiquated.
Yeah, now
it's well kept up, but it's antiquated.
Look, they have a good gym. I know players really like the cafeteria. The location is obviously good. But, the locker room is old, and the practice bubble not being a full 100 yards is crazy. Like, I don't even know why they built it initially with only 60 yards. Like, that seems crazy to me, too. So, obviously the stadium is something they're going to be talking about. I would imagine when the stadium thing gets figured out that you would also maybe see something happen with the practice facility.
We have any idea when that could be? Is that a discussion that's being had right now?
Not yet, but I think it's the stadium stuff's been in the air. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a combo thing whenever it does happen. Eliot, you mentioned before, and we'll get you out of here in a minute, but we've talked so much about the AJ thing. Free agency starts in 2 weeks, essentially, something like that. You mentioned before you don't think Nakobe Reed are likely to be back. You didn't comment on Goddard. Just on the free agency picture for the Eagles, we know the big four for them of their own players are Jalen Phillips, Dallas Goedert, Nakobe Dean, and Reed Blankenship. Those guys and just the outlook on free agency, whether you think the Eagles will be players in the open market. What's your, a couple weeks out preview of free agency?
So I think the Eagles will use most of their cash on their own players, and I think they're expecting to use a lot of that cash on Jalen Phillips. Now, the issue with it being a poor free agency class is Jalen Phillips is one of the best free agents available, and I don't think Jalen Phillips is like a great free agent. I mean, he has an injury history. His sack production has not been great, but I do think he is a very good player that teams would want to sign, and you always overpay for guys in free agency. So I think the Eagles want to try to re-sign Jalen Phillips, but there's always that worry that a team comes out and offers him, way more than he's worth, and then the Eagles will have to make a decision. But I would still guess that Phillips is probably back. Goddard's an interesting one. The tight end market is tough one to walk into right now. Kyle Pitts being franchise tagged is probably a good thing for Goddard because it takes someone off the board, but we'll see what he gets. I think in a year where you're going to have to rebuild your tight end room, there's a value to having Goddard in there. He's a good
Well, not
leader.
to mention if you trade A.J. Brown, like pass catcher wise as well.
Yeah.
Like
So,
Hurts knows and has worked with and played with and stuff,
If you can get Goddard for $7 million a year, I think that would probably be money well spent. But, yeah, some guys are going to go, and I think Nakobe is a prime example of that. The Dallas Cowboys are an obvious solution for Nakobe Dean. I mean, Christian Parker is there.
Don't.
I'm just saying.
I don't.
It's logical.
Nope.
And they'll overpay for him.
We can talk about Nakobe leaving, which breaks my soul to begin with. We cannot talk about him going to Dallas. We can't. We can't talk about it.
It's not very sad.
It's not allowed. I can't do it. I won't. No. Just no.
Yeah, and this might make you feel better. The Raiders are an option for him. The linebacker coach from the Eagles, is over there now. So
go take over Vegas, Nakobe.
Yeah, I think Nakobe will get a better deal than maybe I thought initially at the start of free agency. I think there'll be a good market for him. And, yeah, you're right. It'll be upsetting when he leaves, but it'll make the pressure on Jahad Campbell next year much more.
Yeah, you're right. All right, Eliot, great stuff. Everyone follow him on Twitter at Eliot Shorr-Parks. And, of course, the Go Birds pod with me and Eliot. Eliot, thanks, pal.
Yep, talk to you guys soon.
Thanks,
All right,
Eliot.
see you, pal. All right.